Yeah, Chuck, I appreciate it. We are going to take full advantage of this week. A couple different areas. First, recruiting-wise, we hit the road Sunday night, and we'll maximize our number of NCAA visits. Our evaluations that were allowed before the conclusion of this weekend, and in that process too, we'll have a lot of developmental work because we're eliminated from postseason play. These next 3 weeks, we'll try to get as much work as we can with our developmental guys, the guys that'll be returning on next year's roster. To get a good feel where they're at and what our recruiting needs need to finish up with. So, and to get ourselves healthy, an opportunity to get ourselves healthy and get back on track.
First up, we have Bob Holt of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
Hey, Brett, how you doing today?
Hey, Bob.
You guys, Kentucky and Tennessee, are all struggling to win SEC games. Well, with first-year coaches, what do you think that says about how tough it is to kind of get a program off the deck in this league?
Well, I think that obviously it's a tough league. There's no doubt, and obviously in the West and all that brings into it. For me personally, I think the biggest challenges we had was just coming in, getting an evaluation of what talent we had, getting them to adjust to the schemes that we were going to bring, offense, defense, special teams, and then just working ourselves through as a staff the things that are the high points of Arkansas and also some difficulties you need to work through. I tell you what, I think about the question. I get this one a lot. Obviously taking over Arkansas versus Wisconsin, one of the greatest benefits that I had in my previous institution is I was the defensive coordinator in that school for 2 years before I knew I was going to be the head coach or before I was in that role, and I got to see all of the dynamics of academics, administration, the media, the alumni, the landmines that were buried that you didn't uncover until they hit. So I kind of had a great perception of what that job was before I ever stepped into the head coaching role. You mentioned those 3 teams there, and obviously Auburn's had success. And the advantage that Gus had obviously was being there for a couple of years and understanding a lot about Auburn before he got there. So that's some stuff. I think that's the biggest hiccup new coaches go through in their first couple of years is just finding out all the nastiness that you have to find out about the job before you get there, and kind of finding those hidden landmines.
So you feel like it was a pretty big advantage for Gus that he'd coached at Auburn before and recruited those guys, and and coached.
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm not at Auburn, so but I do know this as a coach to know a lot about the dynamics of every university, even though we're all in the SEC and everybody has that common ground. There's such a difference in every job. All the different institutions I've worked at, the dynamics of even just a simple thing like the admissions process for student athletes, what you go through to get that, and all the red tape that you go through for recruiting, budgeting, academics. Those are big factors that have an immediate impact on your program success.
Next is Nate Allen of Nate Allen Sports Services.
Brett, just kind of at cornerback, what are you looking for out of Will Hines and his recovery, and also DJ Dean after he got a lot of work last game?
That's a great question, Nate. I think the big thing with Will is, he was really starting to play his best football. No doubt, he had made a play, a couple plays before he got injured. That was one of the best plays that he had all year, just firing and reacting to what he's seen. He's a competitive kid. He's got all the length, the dynamics, and the measurements that you want at corner. So to get him back in the lineup will be a great thing. He's still a little bit limited this week, but hopefully he'll be full go with us next week. And then DJ Dean, the thing DJ brings is just he has no fear. He's an incredibly tough kid. He works extremely hard. He's got a lot of God-given ability that he knows to use every play, and comes from a great background. So I think those 2 guys in the back end will help us out a lot in the coming weeks.
As far as the developmental work you've had in these 2 open dates, anybody standing out to you among the red shirts or young reserves?
Yeah, some guys that you mean that aren't playing, Nate? You mean guys
right.
that are okay, red shirt? Yeah, I think defensively, Tevin Beanham has been somebody that I'm excited to get our hands on this week and see where he's put on about 30 pounds. DeAndre Coley is a safety that has gone from 168 to 194 and looks like a different person, and he's an extremely aggressive player during practice. Those 2 guys really jump out on defense, and then on offense, I think that the development of it sounds silly, but even our running backs, Alex Collins and Corliss Marshall, those guys get better every practice, let alone every game. Drew Morgan gets a lot of reps during practice and has shown us a bright spot. So those guys in particular.
Thank you.
Next is Tom Murphy, the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
Hey, Brett, you've had some nice 1-2 combos at tailback in your coaching career. I wonder if you feel like the upside to Jonathan Williams and Alex Collins might, kind of be in that realm of some of your other combos.
I really do, Tom. I think even in the last 2 or 3 weeks, the development that those guys have made during practice, they obviously feed off of one another. I know they're competitive guys. If one has one, they want to go out and top it. But they're both a little bit different, so I think that combination brings you to a whole nother level. If you got two of the same guys, you really have just one, But these two guys are so different. Jay Will, his toughness, his aggressiveness, his ability to punish a ball carrier and break tackles is evident. Alex is a very elusive back. Obviously, he's got a nice little jump cut, but he can bring some physicality to the game as well. I think those two, with another year in our program of training right, eating right, doing all the things that Ben Herbert will do with them, it's going to go off the charts, and hopefully it'll be the best two I've ever had.
What have you thought of those two just being teammates together, same backfield, both of them wanting to probably, get a lot of carries?
Well, I haven't had the blessing of seeing this live, but I understand they got a little handshake that they do, which is very special, I'm sure. I think the part that they've, running backs come in, you're kind of the big man on campus, and they had to adjust to one another and different personalities, different backgrounds, all that jazz, but they seem to get along very, very well. I know Joel really is high on the both of them in the room, the presence that they bring, and I think there's some things that are growing off the field that are going to give us an indicator of just how special they can be on the field the next couple of years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Robbie Newswanger, the Arkansas News Bureau.
Hey, Brett, how are you?
Good, Robbie.
Yesterday there was a Florida player who accused one of your, I guess it was an unnamed player, of using racial slurs in that game back in October. Just wondered if you were aware of that and just what your reaction to that is.
No, I was actually on the road recruiting yesterday. Got a phone call from our, obviously, communications department. I remember the player that was ejected, and I remember the play that it happened on, and so I immediately called it. It was Jay Lake. I think that the play actually happened on, and asked Jay Lake, and he categorically denied anything of that nature. I think if it was a big deal, I probably would have heard about it after the game, not 4 weeks later. I understand the player got a chance to talk, but that wouldn't go on with our guys. And that actually in that game, in the Florida game, all 11 of our defensive players were African American. I have a hard time believing that anybody in our roster would say anything along that lines without getting noticed by our own guys. So I don't see there's an issue there.
And also working on something like Corliss Marshall, and we've gotten to see what he can do at running back. What do you think he can provide to the safety spot if he ultimately moves back over there next year?
Two things. First is you can tell he's an incredibly explosive player. The one thing he does when he's done all those run plays or the returns is he hits the hole just so much faster than everybody else and with a tremendous amount of power. I think that's very, very evident. And the second thing is he's just a willing soul, man. He's a kid that is driven by success. It's been amazing to me, the arrival of him here in the summer and to where we are today. He's so conscientious, comes into my office, I would say at least once a week or every other week, and tells me how his grades are going and all the things that are going on in his life. I think he's a pretty conscientious kid, and if you get that together, that combo, somebody that wants to be great and has the ability to do it, you got something special.
Any thoughts of playing him two ways, or is that too difficult to ask?
Without a doubt. We got a running back coach and a DB coach that want to go into a cage fight to see who gets him. They both, obviously, Joel would love to keep him at running back, and the DB coaches Chris Ash and Tabor want to get him in the back end. So he's really emphatic. At least he's been talking. He wants to switch to safety, which we'll work him at during the week here, developmental-wise. And then as he gets more and more comfortable, we'll let his role grow more and more on the offense, even if it's just that he has, maybe 3 run plays and 2 pass plays and handles the return game. He's a guy that I think continues to grow.